Welcome, everyone. This is our last live session of the Social Entrepreneurship for Innovation in Health course. We hope you're finding valuable insights, inspiration, and opportunities to connect with other participants. It has been a real pleasure to facilitate this course together with my colleagues, Indrani and Supriya. We are very satisfied of how things are going along the course, over the platform, and also during the community sessions that we held in the last 6 weeks. Please use this week or last week to review the course material and to complete your assignments if you haven't done that so yet. And today I have here with me our guest expert, Florencia Estrade, to share with us her expertise and help guide us through your entrepreneurship journey. Florencia is, I'm going to read your bio. Florencia is co-founder and member of the board of directors of the League of Entrepreneurs. The League is an organization of impactful innovators inside some of our most influential private and public institutions across the world. Florencia is passionate about people finding meaning at work and collective leadership. She's also co-founder of Foresta and faculty of systems thinking of Presencing Institute. Welcome, Florencia. So nice to have you here with us today one more time.
Thank you, Natalie. Always a pleasure. Love coming here. And actually, we were just chatting that this group is very active already with questions. So already want to congratulate you for being here and for already coming with questions. And also that you have made it all the way to here, no? So that's amazing that you're here and you're moving and you have ideas and you want to make change happen. So this is the place where I like to be, with people like you.
Yes, it's so wonderful to have you. We're so inspired also by your journey, and we can't wait to hear more about your work and how do you become a social entrepreneur and also as a social entrepreneur yourself. So maybe we can start learning a little bit more about you. And I know that later on you will also have some slides to share with us, but that will be later.
Sure. So, well, each year I feel older, like telling my story, but let's see. Basically, I started working inside large corporations. I studied business, and very early on, I was 19 years old, was already studying and working in banking. And I was always one of those people that we ask questions, no? So very young, early on, already asking lots of questions around how things were done, why things were done, they were. And when I look back at that time, I would have never called myself an entrepreneur. But that's actually one of the characteristics, which is you are inside an organization, you are inside a system, and you're asking yourself why things are done the way they are, and what if they could be done differently. And it doesn't matter if you're early on in your career or already with decision-making power. It's an attitude to take a look at an existing system and wonder what could be done differently. In my case, it had a lot to do around what about banking and just making more money, but how can we use this force to have more impact in the world, positive impact, social impact. It was in 2003 when I found about social business, social enterprises. And for me, it was like a click in my mind. It was like, okay, we can integrate this thing that had been fragmented in the way I was educated. In terms of this is social and this is business, it was like, no, there's an integration. So that was more than 20 years ago, and that has informed a lot of my path since then, which is looking into the integration of how we think about impact and how to bring the force of business and business models for that to happen. The path was then working in McKinsey, in consultancy, but at that time with a very clear intention. Like I'm working inside this platform, which is a big consulting firm. What can I do from here to impact the world? And it was supporting Ashoka. At that time, I met Ashoka Fellows. We had the business plan competition. We would support NGOs on how to make business plans to be more sustainable financially and to scale, then starting the social sector office at McKinsey. So it was still very much from inside. until I have to say it was another moment in my career that I realized I wanted to step out and try an entrepreneurial path. And then I started my own organization. It was a consultancy and an accelerator at that time based in Brazil. So we would be advising large organizations. It could be governments, it could be corporations, it could be large nonprofits. We would look into how can you have more impact and be more innovative from where you are. So that's when I started meeting lots of entrepreneurs, because the people that would come as my clients were people trying to do things differently inside the organizations. And we also had the accelerator for startups. And I started realizing how interesting it is that sometimes some of the best ideas are happening outside, but they could super be connected with people that are wanting to do different things from inside.
Right.
So I would say that has been a lot of my path on how to connect, yes, the people inside with the people outside. And in 2013, it was when we, together with a group, decided to focus on the League of Entrepreneurs, which started out of a competition with Ashok again. So it's beautiful that our paths are intertwined, which was like, what if we start giving more visibility, a name, and a place to be together for those that are driving change from within? So 2013, we started really bringing together, I would say, three things: the narrative. So just being able to say, I'm an entrepreneur, has proven very important in terms of being clear on what is your role in the ecosystem. So,
And would you say also like a sense of identity too?
yeah, that's why I feel like just saying, because for me, lots of people, I remember at that time, it was the entrepreneurial thing, like everyone wanting to be an entrepreneur. And then it's all these people like, actually, I should leave and I should do my stuff and I should start my project. And for me, it was like, why? Actually, you are sitting in an organization that has influence. You could maybe do stuff from there. So I think just being able to have your own narrative around, like, this is who I am, this is the type of change I'm going to drive, and I'm going to do it from inside an organization. So that was the first thing with the league, just making sure more people connect with the narrative and with that identity. Second, what we discovered in that process was the many people feel alone in that process. So although you're inside a large organization or you have all these peers, not many people understand you. So that's why cohorts like this that you are doing in this course is so important, that you are among people that are also questioning how to drive change from within. So you don't feel alone in that process, and there are people you can exchange ideas or you can relate to that's not only inside your organization. So for us, the league was a place for people to connect and to come together. And then the third piece was, what are the key competencies or skills that are important for you to be successful as an entrepreneur, and how to make this journey. You're going to fail 100 times, and that's part of the process. But just to make sure, and I think the biggest learning there was there were lots of people talking about projects. So, how do you make your project successful? How do you create the value proposition for your project? So, a lot of emphasis on the project, but less emphasis in the person. And for us, it was very important, like, as important as your project is your capacity to be a good instrument to drive change. So the leadership capacity in yourself to drive change is as important, if not more important, than the quality of your project.
And your innovation and your like you're talking like the project based on like your solution, the problem that you're addressing, and the capacities that you have. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I have to say, for me, it was interesting in the consultancy that I had before. I worked with organizations in projects that were amazing, but they didn't have an entrepreneur. They
Right.
didn't have an entrepreneur. They were projects that were thought by the organization, but who's going to run this? Like,
Mm,
who's going to make this happen with shiny eyes, with risk, with belief? So that's why I think, like, of course, the idea, of course, the project, of course, what you want to work on is important. But I think it's underestimated the relevance of also preparing yourself for what you're going to go through as an entrepreneur. So as you're finishing this course or this journey, now there's a lot of work that's coming. And it's very important, like, how do you prepare yourself in that process?
right. And to that comes like the next question that we have here, which is what tools are necessary for the journey, or like what do you think it's important for a social entrepreneur to actually be successful? And I know that we have talked about this, and you have in the League of Entrepreneur have designed a map of all the obstacles, and you call it the journey, I think, and then the quest, something like that. So yes, I would love to hear a little bit more of like how you have been able to provide a framework of what's the path of a social entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share what we created in the league. And this is really created out of the experience of entrepreneurs themselves going through this journey. Um, and and it's interesting, as Natalie is saying, like, it was difficult how to call it, no? Like, how do we talk about this? So for us, it was like, this is a journey you're going to start. Similar as if you were going, to start a trekking or walking, and there's actually no road. So I think that is the first important thing to be aware of. Like, there's no perfect road in this process, which makes it feel a little bit like this, very messy, right? So we're going into this wilderness where you have all these things happening at the same time, and then you wonder, which way do I go first? Where do I put my energy now? Uh, so first of all, very, very important, as you can see on the top right, be clear on your North Star. So you may not know the way, and we're going to go deeper into this, but just know your direction. Like, what are you aiming for? Where are you moving towards? And then just be prepared to lots of things happening in the middle. So as you can see, this is Tom, our illustrator, which was just putting it like some of the key typical things that will happen.
Mhm.
So political quagmire. So we are inside institutions that you need to lead inside with so many other people and play the political game. So sometimes this is not your idea, it has to be someone else's idea. You have to bring some people along. Or you have the slow moving institutional beast. God, it's so bureaucratic.
Bureaucracy. Yes.
So all these things, which actually, this is part of the journey. There's no way to move around it. No, you're not an entrepreneur. You're an intrapreneur. Or just going with cynicism, abysm of cynicism. So many people say, no, that's too complicated. We have tried before. That's not the focus for us. That's not our core business. That's not our core strategy. So just being aware, we're going to go through all of these difficulties and that this is going to be a journey. And then if you go like this, where there's no road, what we played with in the league was, well, you'd better have a compass,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Since there's no perfect map, at least maybe you can have a compass so you don't get distracted or you don't get disoriented. And that is how we ended up with this entrepreneur compass, which actually in the middle is the core of it, which is what is your quest? What are you aiming for? What is that North Star? And this is not the project, okay? This is not the idea you're working on now. This is what are you aiming for? Like what motivates you? So let's say in my case, for me, it's a big thing like how do we empower more people to find meaning at work
Right.
without needing to start their own organization?
Mm.
So that is my higher order questions, like how can people find meaning at work without the need to just open an organization? Uh, why does that drive me personally? That's very important because whatever you're working on, why is that the path you're taking? How is that meaningful to you? And this is very important because once you find that, when times get rough, that's what keeps it alive because it's meaningful to you. So in my case, it's because I suffered personally, not finding meaning at work in the first 8 years of my career. And I was doing everything well and I was being promoted, but I was not happy. So there was something missing. And I don't want people to feel that way because I feel like we're just losing time. Like we dedicate too many hours to our work. So just elaborating on that thing in the center is fundamental. And then, okay, on the top, how do I shape my quest? Now, how do I give it a form, a model, an idea, a project? So on the top, first of all, is what is the idea you want to work on? And what is the narrative for you on how to share that with others? So in
Oh.
my case, it was the League of Entrepreneurs.
Mm.
Great. The idea is we want to bring entrepreneurs together to be together, to find their narrative, and to be able to be better change makers. So, what is the idea you're working on now? And then, who needs to come along with you? So, who are the key stakeholders, and how are you going to keep their fire alive? So, maybe you're very clear already, or maybe you are starting and you're not as clear on who should come together. And this is both internal and external in your organization. So, internally, for sure, who can be a sponsor
Mm.
and who might want to block you. That's important to be clear.
It's
And
very
then,
clear. Yeah. Who are going to be your supporters or who's going to be like a challenge? Yeah.
and then externally, who can come along? Because I think sometimes we forget that there are others out there that maybe you still haven't met and you're in your organization, but that can be fundamental to help make your idea come true because they can come as external voices, they can have capacity for implementation, they can even have an idea, as I was saying. Maybe there's already an entrepreneur out there doing something that you could leverage rather than start something from scratch. So open that radar on who can be your co-travelers and partners on this. And this will make it easier and faster to implement. And then on the bottom end, this is very important, is how do I feed my project and how do I nourish myself?
Mm.
So again, it's not all about the project, it's also about yourself. So when it comes to the project, do I have permission to do this project in my organization? Do I have hours allocated to this so that I can dedicate time? And is there someone supporting me? Is there money for this project in my organization? So just to be very clear, like what are the first experiments that I can do with the reality that I have? And then going into your plan on how to make it happen, what is a realistic rhythm to make this happen.
Realistic what? Sorry, couldn't hear you.
Rhythm, like
Rhythm.
let's say you have a job today
Yeah.
where the idea that you want to bring to life is actually an extra thing.
Right.
So my experience in the league all these last 13, 14 years has been lots of people come and say, well, actually, this is not what I'm being asked to do. This is something that I would love to create. But at 80% of my time, I'm being asked to do something else. Then how do we make this in a realistic way where you're carving your path for that idea to become your full-time job? But now it's not. So don't put unrealistic milestones, or because then you're going to be saying that I couldn't make it all the time. So just what is your plan to make that happen, and who can be people that can support you to make that happen? So this is the compass. There are lots of questions for each of these areas that I'm going to leave with you. So I'm going to send it out, and I really invite you to take a look to see how you can create your map.
Yeah.
Right?
We're going to add it into the complementary materials for everybody to have this PowerPoint. Yes.
Great.
Wonderful. Thank you, Florencia. I already have some questions that came up while you were talking about the journey. Yeditya Mela is asking, what has been the biggest challenge you have faced when trying to integrate the social mission into a business strategy? And how did you overcome it?
Well, I think the hardest thing is to not make it a nice to have, but actually something really strategic for the organization. So making sure you understand the organization's strategy. And that doesn't mean what they sell and how they make money only. Okay. So it's just the wider strategy around like why is the market shaping important? What are they looking for their brand, which goes beyond just the immediate short-term result on sales, and then being able to connect part of what you want to bring into that the same language of the corporate strategy, right? So for instance, actually it's an example of an entrepreneur, and it's in health. There's an entrepreneur in Brazil. He works with a company that sells products to build houses, right? And he was very concerned on the problem in Brazil is the quality of the houses. So it's not that people don't have houses, it's that the houses are not necessarily safe or healthy. There's lots of mold.
Yeah.
So how do we improve? It doesn't make sense for us just to sell products to construct houses if the houses are not being built with quality.
Right.
Because that is important for the well-being of the people that live in these houses, and it's important also for the marketing of our products. Why? Because our products are being used to build the houses, but they are not being built because what they discovered was that they were not being used appropriately. So they were applied in a way that the product didn't get all its characteristics to work well. So this meant they invested in preparing constructors all across Brazil to be good constructors and to be affordable for low and middle income owners of properties so that they could hire them. So the business that they created was about preparing people to be good constructors and to have the chance to offer their services in an affordable way to those that want to construct their houses. Now, why was it successful? Marketing. You want to expand your business. You want to build that capacity that your products are the best and that people love them and the constructors of the houses love them. So that translation is fundamental. on
The
how.
alignment, yeah, the alignment between the mission of the organization or the company with your social mission, like where that is actually at the core of the business, basically, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think
one.
that you
Yeah.
want to come up with questions. I'm all ears. Or if you want to
Oh,
share more.
before we go into more questions, I know we have been discussing about like a couple of cases, and I think it will be great for our audience to hear about the experiences that you have of successful social entrepreneurs. Successful social
So
entrepreneurs.
yeah, I was telling, well, this one that I just shared is one example, and he was very successful. But then we were talking with Natalie preparing for this, and I was thinking we have been working a lot with Philips. They work in the health arena with diagnostics. So maybe many of you have had some connection or contact. And we have been working with our team on access to care through the league because there are quite a few entrepreneurs inside Philips that are part of the league. And it's been quite interesting to look into how they think about it. And I just wanted to bring one case, which may be like dream case in the sense that it has gotten support, it has become a new business unit, and it's really now in the implementation phase. But I think it's interesting for you to take a look and just think like when we dream what's possible. And then I can share of other ideas that people are working on that maybe are not as disruption or just so transformational, but actually are moving the business on the day to day. But then let me just share very quickly with you. Let's see if I open here. There is this case which started being called iMama, which actually has to do with diagnosis of, pregnant women. Everyone should have an ultrasound. And then I'm just looking for the slide to show it, which maybe makes it easier to relate. Okay. So, what was the challenge, no, that we all face? That 95% of all maternal deaths occur in low and lower middle income countries. And actually, the World Health Organization recommends an ultrasound before 24 weeks of pregnancy, but this is still not happening for many women around the world, especially in low and low middle income countries. And the reason for this, of course, has to do with capacity at hospitals and to reach out to all of these women, and also costs. So the question was like, how can we develop something that can reach more women? And then Philips, the first process was just the hardware. So it was a cheaper hardware so that it could reach more women. But then that was not enough because you can have the hardware, but then who's going to read it? Because it's not easy to read an ultrasound to see if the women are healthy. So then the next layer was how can we bring artificial intelligence into a handheld device that is very easy to read with not such a big level of preparation. And what's interesting that this has taken many years now in Philips. It started with the hardware, now with the software, and it's not being done. Matt, who leads this, he's still right now working on implementation and partners to test what's already ready there. But just wanted to give you a sense of how this is coming alive. It's not just with Philips investment, but actually it's also having Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation investment. So as we think of ideas that can be disruptive, that can really change things, ideally it shouldn't depend on just one organization funding it. Because actually it's very interesting to have Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation working with Philips, because that actually gives more pressure for Philips to continue with the
Right.
program,
Yeah.
right? Because there's someone else looking into this. So for me, this is a very interesting project and something that can be transformative. for the industry. And actually now it has become a business unit inside Philips and is taking full mode. Now, as I was saying, not everyone will be able to be Matt leading this, which I always tell him, you're in your dream project, like to be able to do that. He comes from many years working in Philips, and he got a lot of credibility in the diagnostic arena before being able to lead this project. So he's well known for his commercial capacity. He's well known for his capacity in understanding diagnostics. So to be able to lead something like this, it's important to be aware if you have credibility and capacity to make it happen inside Philips.
He already had a career within Philips too. That's what you mean, like because he had credibility and capacity. So he had reached like a level of experience, and yeah.
Which I think it's a good reflection for all of you now. Just what can I take now as a project and as an idea that is within my realm of credibility in the organization that I'm working from. I always like to say we don't work for organizations, we work from organizations. But then given that this is the platform where you're working, and if you want to develop something from that platform, what is the credibility that you have? And for instance, if you are, I've seen some entrepreneurs trying to get in an area that is not where they come from. So it's like, okay, well, actually, I would love to make change, but from an area that has nothing to do with the work I'm doing today in the organization.
What would you recommend for them? What would you say to them?
Look for your internal partner that has credibility and just start having a partner to do this with you. Because if not, it's going to be too hard. So there needs to be someone from that area, that arena, that believes in you, that you build a relationship with, that allows for this to happen.
Yes. I have a question related to that I'll mention you from Roa Abdallah. How can young professionals contribute to systems change where they don't have yet the decision-making power? And the second follow-up question is, what is the best way to persuade leadership to support entrepreneurial ideas, especially when resources are limited?
Okay, first, we always have capacity to drive change. It's not about your hierarchy in the organization. It's about a way of being and behaving inside an organization. Now, I'm going to give you an example of an intern in Nestle, okay? Nestle in Brazil. She had started 6 months, I think she had been working in the organization, and she was just like super into environmental impact and like how can we change things, and she wanted that to be her career, right? Inside Nestle. But what can I do? Like, I'm just like no one yet. So at least he's like, how can people know about my interest? How can people know about my intention? And how can I start changing something according to my sphere of influence? So she put a post-it in the mirror of the elevator. This was 6 years ago, saying, I can't stand to keep using plastic cups in our coffee area. How can we change this together? Meet me at the coffee area every day, and midday I will be there. So look at her. She just chose something small and then brought others to come and solve it with her because she didn't know how to. Well, that shifted. 1 year after, there were no plastic cups in the coffee areas in Nestle. So she didn't put up her hand to say, we should change the packaging of our products when
Yes.
she has been 6 months working at Nestle.
Right.
But but then she was hired. She shifted the area in Nestle because they found her very entrepreneurial. She showed that she could bring people along, and then she started working in the supply chain in the environmental arena within Nestle.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful example of how like you just approach change for little ways. You don't have to be doing like the super mega big change like we were showing us with the ultrasounds with Philips, or just changing the whole packaging of Nestle. You can just change the plastic cups at your cafeteria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's part of exercising your capacity to drive change and that other people see you. Because the other question was like, how do we bring leadership, right? Or how do we,
And
I
what is the
think,
best way to persuade leadership to support your ideas, your entrepreneurial ideas?
not to try to convince them that you have a great idea that they should come along, but rather come with questions that you would like to solve together. Uh,
Mm,
and do bring ideas. But you see what I just shared? It was not like I have the solution of what we should be doing, but rather I see a problem. I'm interested in fixing it. I have some ideas and would love your support. People love to mentor, people love to support, people don't like to be convinced of things.
mm,
And many times what happens in this type of sphere when we are going with new ideas to people with seniority or with decision making power, uh, they may be uncomfortable with what you are bringing. So you may be asking them to take risk that they are not comfortable in taking, or you may be bringing a topic that actually they don't know about. And then it's very uncomfortable when you're a leader to just say, actually, I don't understand what you're bringing to me. Uh, so there's importance to understand that you have to educate on what you want to do and just not try to convince on what you want to do. And I think personally, that was one of the biggest learnings to me
mm.
because I spent a lot of energy trying to convince people in the beginning of my years. And then I was just like, this is not working. I'm putting a lot of my energy, I'm getting a lot of no's. And it's very different to come with a question and with an invitation and asking for support.
Asking for support, right? In a way, it's also like it's a little bit more co-creating it, because it's not like you just have that solution, but you're actually asking for perspective from other partners, from other stakeholders in a way, or leadership, so that
Yeah,
they can all co-create. Yeah.
exactly. It's easy when you flip it, right? What do you like people to do with you? Okay. And then sometimes we talk about and I think the other piece which is important is again talking in the language of the person. So if you have 30 minutes with someone, you'd better relate it to that person's agenda, whatever you're bringing.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the other piece. Like you may have lots of things, but then just make the connection to the one thing that is a pain point that that person has in their realm of interest that you can relate to. So going back to the case of the example of the school for constructors in Brazil to build the homes of low and middle income people. Um, the guy that ran it, he was really concerned about how the social side of it. But the
Mm,
way he convinced the leadership was we have a problem with our brand and
mm,
our marketing because our products are being used in a way that is not generating good uh, good reputation in the houses of people. So that drives my attention, right? Or I never forget an entrepreneur that actually really wanted to do something and was not being heard. And what he did was he created a fake newspaper article and sent it to his super boss, so not his direct boss.
Oh, yes. I
Like,
think.
and just saying like, hey, look at this. This came, it's fake news, right? But it's like, how do you get the attention of people that you want to take a look at you? And you have to take a little bit of risk as well.
Yeah, I remember it was like the title, the headline of the newspaper saying that the competitor had win that innovation that he was trying to propose, and it really make an impact on his the executive leader.
Well, he had 30 minutes with that person.
Yeah.
So basically, he got a meeting. He was just like, okay, well, come and meet me. Like, what's going on? And then the conversation was, actually, this is not true, but it could be true. And you saw it. Imagine if we invested in that. So I think, yeah, it's part of that, like how to bring the attention.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for all these insights, Florencia. It feels like it's really based on your experience, your personal experience, and also like working with so many social entrepreneurs of how to not convince the leadership, but actually invite them to be part of your initiative so that you can work together. Yes. Let me see. I have another question here from Timothy. Is there a difference between being an entrepreneur in a small firm and versus an entrepreneur within a large corporation? And what steps should companies of all sizes take to build a culture of entrepreneurship?
Great question. Yes, it is different, a smaller than a bigger one. In what sense? You know the people in the small one, and in the big one, it gets really impersonal. So it's more about like the positions and the power, while in the smaller one, usually you have a relationship with the people. People know your face, or you have the chance to meet in a space. Now, when it comes to small ones, I think it's important, yes, that relationship you develop first, and also the respect for the people that are playing the roles gets. I would say, for instance, I always said like doing something new in a place where the owners are still in there, it's much easier because you can invest, because usually the people that founded things or that are the owners of things really want that to happen for a long term. So you can appeal to the vision, the reason why we exist in a very compelling way, and recognize that we need to invest in the longer term uh, rather than just on the targets that I have for this year. When you move into bigger organizations, the reality is that the incentives are very fragmented within the different areas. So each leader, each manager has their own performance measures. So sometimes just talking about the longer term perspective of what this could bring for the organization, when you're talking with someone, that what that person is thinking is, and what is my bonus incentive, and how am I going to make the metrics happen? So I would say it's a different conversation uh, when it comes into more, and also the bureaucracy, right? So in the smaller ones, you can try stuff with less bureaucracy, and in the bigger ones, there's more bureaucracy. Now, when it comes on how to build a culture of entrepreneurship, um, first of all, I feel like not as much only on the people that can propose idea, but actually on the leadership of the organization to really accept to deal with questions, to deal with people dedicating some time to things that they were not asked for. So I always start by asking the leadership, do you really want to have an entrepreneurial culture? Then that means giving space to your employees to come up with ideas, questions, and dedicate time to things that you may not have thought of. And that is a very important first space to align. Because then that can be helpful. It can mean that just as an organization, you structure that people can dedicate 5-10% of their time to a different project, or that they can ask for dedication for some months to do an idea that they want to bring about. So really, or that you allow for, and you incentivize that people from different areas can work together and collaborate on projects that are multidisciplinary, but just within the day-to-day structure of work, how do we allow for windows of entrepreneurial activity? Because if not, it becomes, of course, the people that work with strategy or with innovation or business development, they can be entrepreneurs. But the people that are working in a factory, or they are working on the commercial day-to-day, where is there space for them to be entrepreneurs? So I think that is a very important piece. And then the other piece is, how do we deal with risk in this organization? So if we are very risk averse, then there are very few chances that you're gonna get people to try new things. So for you to develop an entrepreneurial culture, you need to allow for some risk. And actually, if people fail, or if the money was tried on a prototype and it didn't work, so that's very connected with innovation.
Right.
Okay? And make sure that to have those conversations.
Right. How would an employee would actually think about selling these ideas to the leadership? So you're not in the leadership position, but you're actually like in the employee position. So how would you convince about the business case of entrepreneurship?
So we usually have used this line of thought, which is just like, as an organization, you know that in order to be relevant in the coming years, you need to innovate at the speed that the market and other players are innovating, right? So there's a question around, how do you keep up with everything that's moving so fast today? So that is one thing that there's a pressure for most organizations, I would say all organizations, to innovate at the speed that the market requires. Then there's also another question which is important for organizations, which is, how do I keep the best talent with me? How do I not lose my most motivated employees? So then there's a question around like employees' satisfaction and talent retention, right? So one way that you can say is for organizations is, listen, entrepreneurship and creating space for entrepreneurship is a wonderful way for you to keep your most talented employees and most engaged employees, and to be able to create from within solutions at the speed that you need. So within the 100% that you have of time in your organization, dedicate a percentage of it for your talents to be able to develop this capacity. And then the other piece that has been quite interesting is there is a concern in executive, like in top levels of organizations, that they don't see enough capacity of employees to deal with uncertainty. So there's a question like, everyone starts getting nervous when we do a change. People start paralyzing and panicking, and then are they going to be fired, or what's going to happen? So in a way, creating the leadership capacity inside the organization to be entrepreneurs is a way that you can deal with uncertainty, with risk, because you're not getting just people that can manage what they are told to do, but rather you're providing capacity in your organization to deal with uncertain markets, uncertain realities, and be creative around how to solve it, rather than wait to be told what needs to be done.
Right. That's great, Florencia. Thank you so much. And I was just looking at the time and it's really flying by like always. So we only have 8 more minutes to go. Um, I just want to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about that Global Entrepreneur Week that had just happened. And if you would like to share any insights from that. And I also know that the League of Entrepreneurs has been working for over 10 years and the trends of what is most important has been changing so much. So if you want to share with us, how is the future of entrepreneurship looking or any insights from the Global Entrepreneurship Week? And then after that, we will have one more question and we will end up. Thank you.
Well, I think like for in terms of entrepreneurship, it's good times to be an entrepreneur.
Mm,
Because we started this back in 2013, and I have to say, I've seen such an evolution in the conversation with organizations recognizing the need to innovate faster, to keep talent with. So there's, I would say, although you may think, oh God, no, this year has been horrible. Cut of budgets, like cost cutting, reduction. People are so stressed not to invest. But in moments of crisis and in moments of, I guess I would say, there is a sense in most of us that the system, the way it is not working. And when we started some years ago, there were still kind of people saying, really, is it not working? I feel like now we're feeling it. This is not working. And it's climate change, it's like social inequality, it's like the numbers are not, it's political. So there's something that people are like, I should better open up because this is not going to work the way it used to work. So, as an entrepreneur, that's good news because people are willing to listen and try something. Just saying, listen, you could always say the cost of keeping doing the same things the way we have always done it is already noticeable. Like people know there is a risk in not changing. So take advantage of that. In terms of possibilities, I think also the social agenda, the climate agenda are, although lots of people say no, it has stopped, I would argue it hasn't. There's no way back.
mm,
This is happening. We need to fix the way we treat health. We need to think of it in a more holistic way around well-being. We need to understand the connection between climate and health. Some of the biggest difficulties we're going to face, we have that conversation in the league. It's about people that are going to be really impacted with all the climate change in countries that this is going to bring diseases. So there's a conversation that I think is there. So think of you're surfing a good wave to be an entrepreneur.
yes.
Although it may not seem, I think it is. Global Entrepreneur Week happened. We do that once a year in the league. Welcome to come. It's open. We just try to bring like something around what are the things that people are most worried about or what's hitting us now. There was a lot of conversation around regeneration, regenerative approaches. Like there's a lot of this narrative moving in around like, is this just a new way of talking about sustainability? Or are we
Mm,
really talking about a new way to be regenerative in
mm,
our organizations, in our systems? So if you want to take a look in the league, you can just sign up for the league newsletter. There are over 10,000 people receiving it. With that, you receive invitation for the events. And then in general, the way the league works, we have fellowships that happen every year. So that's an invitation for entrepreneurs that are already working on developed projects. Then we do open workshops and things that are more educational for those that are starting the path. There's a mentorship program, there's an online course. So you can take a look there. And then Global Entrepreneur Week is the place that we come together once a year and just advance. But I would say in general, it's not the start of the journey. It's more like what's pressing us today in the community, and we talk about that. But please do join. It's so important that you are surrounded by people that are trying to do this change together with you. And we also do meetups in Global Entrepreneur Week in person in different cities. It just happened.
It just
But then,
happened like 2 weeks ago or something, right? Wonderful, Florencia. So it's been amazing to have you. I feel like we always run a little short of time, but I would love to end with this question from Costanopoulos Miliaresis. What is one thing you wish more entrepreneurs understood before trying to drive change from within?
what a great question. Um, I think self awareness of where
Mm,
you are in the system and how you can operate from there. I feel just being very clear of what is your role in the ecosystem. And that has to do with what we were talking a little bit before, which is what is your sphere of influence and what is I would say, your credibility from where you are for the change you want to drive. And then if you don't just is that like x-ray of yourself looking from outside and just saying, listen, from where I am in terms of my care for this topic and why am I doing this, am I very connected with why I'm doing this? That's very important because that's going to give you your resilience and your flame. Then, am I someone credible to be driving this? And just be aware of that because if you're not credible, that's okay. Just you can build that credibility. But maybe that's part of what you need to do first. Develop those relationships, invest in having some other partners, and then with that, you're gonna be able to drive the change you wanna see. And then also, I think in that self awareness is, do I have the competency and the capacity to work on this now? So, again, that thing of, do I have time? How are things going with, I've seen many entrepreneurs get very, very uh, burnt out.
mm.
So I just want to make sure this is a marathon. Start this with care for yourself and just put realistic milestones because, in my experience, uh, big entrepreneurial projects that have been successful take time. So it's not a 1 year, it's many years. Um, and yeah, just make sure you take that time to do that x-ray about yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Florencia, for all this advice. It's like really super helpful and very valuable for all the classmates that have been joining us today live and also like are going to be watching the replay. It's really amazing to have you with all this knowledge. And thank you everyone also to have been joining us live today for the webinar. We are very excited that this is one of the last days of the class. However, we're going to be finishing the course on Friday. However, you have until December 30th to complete the course and 100 points so you can receive your certificate. And thank you, everyone. Again, we've been really, really happy with the cohort, with your contributions, as I mentioned before, through the platform, bringing up all the questions. We had so many questions we couldn't bring up. The time ran out, but we will be happy to see you in the platform until the end of the week. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.